Law enforcement officials across the country, they are applauding President Trump's decision to ramp up border security and halt the flow of refugees coming into this country. The National Border Patrol and ICE councils released a joint statement praising the president's action, and I want to quote it right here. "We fully support and appreciate President Trump's swift and decisive action to keep the American people safe and allow law enforcement to do its job. Morale amongst our agents and officers has increased exponentially since the signing of the executive orders." Joining me right now with his thoughts on all of it, former New York City Police Commissioner Rudy Giuliani. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
People are excited. Why is that? I mean, they say the morale has just, exponentially improved. Why?
It's basically exploded. And the reason being is because this is the first time in 8 years that they've seen a president that is preemptively, proactively doing something about securing the borders and securing this country. Nobody knows and understands the threats of terrorism in the United States better than our people that were here during and the aftermath of 9/11, what's happened since, what's happened around the world, and all of a sudden you now have a president that says, we're going to do everything in our power to stop that and prevent it.
So in other words, he's enabling all of these folks to do their job.
Whereas
before they might have felt a little handicapped because the sense anyway that you were getting from the top level was, don't do your job that well.
There wasn't a sense. There was orders. There were many orders. Do not go out and do ABC, number one. Number two, the law enforcement authorities were scared to death that had they done something, they weren't going to be indemnified. They weren't going to be supported. They weren't going to have the benefit of the doubt by their government leaders. And especially, you would have criticism coming right out of the White House. That's not going to happen with President Trump.
This has created quite a commotion, though. I've been saying a lot of hysteria on behalf of members of the left. Of course, Chuck Schumer, you saw him, the whole tears, etc.
I have to say something about that. I was with him in the aftermath of September 11th at Ground Zero. I never saw the man cry or whimper or any of that other stuff. So that whole scene the other day with the people around him and him, whining or crying, whatever he was doing, I found it kind of appalling. You didn't cry on September 11th. You didn't cry when you were with me and Rudy Giuliani at Ground Zero. I just thought it was kind of bizarre.
Well, that gets back to a point I keep making, that perhaps this is just because it's Donald Trump and they want to fight him at every single turn. And by the way, the media is in on the action. Well,
the media is perpetrating the lies, the misleading statements. I think the general public doesn't understand. When they heard he removed the acting attorney general for failing to do her job, that executive order was signed off on by the Office of the Legal Counsel in DOJ. Okay, it was all good to go. And all of a sudden you have an acting attorney general saying, oh, but I'm going to tell my people we're not going to enforce it.
Yeah, and by the way, that sort of is, you're not upholding the law at that point.
Exactly.
So it's understandable what happened as a result. Anyway, he's moving quickly. He's moving swiftly. One thing after another. People are scrambling to catch up, and they're really upset about it along the way.
He's not doing anything that he did not say during the campaign. He said this is what he was going to do.
But Bernie, this is the funny thing. People in Washington and in the media are not used to a politician actually following through.
That's the biggest point, I think. Nobody in Washington, nobody in the country, the general public is not used to the political leaders not doing or doing what they say they were supposed to do or going to do.
But you know what? In business, you are used to it. And I will tell you that is the distinguishing factor, right? In business, it's all about the bottom line. It's all about making sure stuff gets done. You'll want to be a person of action in business. In politics, it's kind of like, let's drag this thing out. We can play it for all it's worth, see what people are thinking, check on the polls.
Right.
You don't really ever have to get anywhere because the whole process of trying to get somewhere is partly where you get your constituencies on board.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, he's all about the end game.
Well, you got to jump on the train. He told these guys early on. He said it the day he was sworn in. Get on board because we're going to be moving and moving fast.
Well,